It will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans, some of whom are his good friends, like those who are here. When we have talks between us on around a quiet table, it will take President Trump to listen to them.
Jennifer Zabasajja is our chief Africa correspondent, joining us now. Another Oval Office ambush, it would appear. And even though the president went in with good faith, President Ramaphosa, things quickly deteriorated.
Right, and Jumana, that word ambush is one that actually came from the president's spokesperson, saying that this was a planned meeting, that they had a schedule in place, and that it changed, as he said, at the last moment. The format of the meeting changed at the last moment. As we could see there, we did see a bit of the charm offensive coming from President Ramaphosa. He was talking a lot about, his gratefulness for President Trump in his first term for supporting South Africa during COVID. And then it really seemed to devolve when we saw a presentation from President Trump. The White House came a bit prepared, showing a lot of videos and claims and it was a lot of different interactions that we've seen in the past of parties that are not in the coalition party. And you could see that President Ramaphosa was thrown off quite a bit. But unlike in previous encounters that we've seen in the White House, he did try to keep his cool and again, try to bring it back to trade and investment and bilateral ties between these two countries. But it's a bit unclear, really, where things go from here. And we did see President Ramaphosa coming alongside some of white South Africans who even President Trump called his own friends, golfers from South Africa, also Johan Rupert, who is very well known as well. But it's still a bit unclear where President Trump goes from here. Even when asked whether or not he's going to be at the G20, it still seemed like he hasn't quite made up his mind, and he kept bringing it back to a lot of these unsubstantiated claims that we've seen him purport.
And certainly President Ramaphosa tried to even put a positive spin on it afterwards. But talk us through the impact this is going to have on the domestic economy. Right. The government has been trying to kickstart the economy. The budget, obviously, very contentious. So walk us through the latest developments there.
Right. And President Ramaphosa did note just how significant this relationship is for the growth of the economy. He kept bringing it back, even to Nelson Mandela days, and continuing to quote Nelson Mandela. John Steenhuisen, who is also a part of the opposition party, again tried to talk about how, yes, there are issues within the economy that have brought down the growth in the past year. There is crime, there has been infrastructure breakdowns, and so that's where they kept trying to bring it back to investment and where they see the U.S. supporting the country moving forward. And again, bringing up Starlink even. Elon Musk was in the White House talking about, not talking about this, excuse me, but representing a Starlink. Johan Rupert said that Starlink would help the economy grow. And so you kept seeing these South African representatives try to bring it back to the economy and to the growth that could happen if this relationship remains intact. You mentioned the budget. We did get the budget yesterday. We saw the rand weaken a bit after this White House meeting, but the budget that we got earlier in the day actually was welcomed by economists and the markets largely. And so really the path forward is going to be quite important for how this all plays out from the finance minister's perspective and also from the president's perspective. And we're waiting to see what the developments are of the meeting that they had behind the cameras, because potentially that's where the development really is.